Okay, this is another reaction video from the world according to Briggs. 10 cheapest places to live in California. Um, Please click like, share, and subscribe for him as well as for me. This is kind of interesting. I was born in California. I never really lived there very long, but California is pretty much one of the more expensive places to live in the United States. And I would imagine a lot of these places are inland, like close to Eastern California, than along the West Coast. But let's see the 10 cheapest places to live in California.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the World According to Briggs. Today we're going to look at the Golden State, California. California these days has become a comeback for Middle America's argument on why liberals are bad. California is one of the richest states in the nation, not just economically speaking either. It's rich in natural beauty too. The weather, the beaches, the mountains, and all that cosmetic surgery makes California beautiful.
Yeah, California is a gorgeous state. There's no question about that. It doesn't matter where you are, even on the eastern side where it's mostly desert. California is an absolutely gorgeous state. I have never had a problem visiting there. I've never had a problem with the people that live there. They are generally nice people. It's just so expensive to live there. That's and what he's talking about there is left-wing politics have made it a very bad place to go, like the homeless problem that they have there. But I'm not going to dig deep into that. But let's see what he says here. That's what he's talking about.
California is a highly desirable place to live, and that's a fact, and it shows by the cost of living and housing prices. San Francisco now outranks Manhattan as the most expensive real estate market in the U.S. I read one thing on a real estate site that said any other city in America, if you make $500,000 a year, you have your choice of almost any house in almost any neighborhood. That's not the case in Manhattan or San Francisco. Today's list is not about San Francisco. It's about places in California that still might be considered a cheap place to live, at least for California standard.
Yeah, because cheap place to live versus California standards versus normal standards is probably two different things.
Now, quick heads up. If I went just by the numbers, all those places would be in the middle of Death Valley, because it is dirt cheap to live out there. You just have to get used to dust, dirt, and sweating a lot. And that wouldn't make for a very exciting list. It would make for a very depressing list, actually.
And if you don't know what Death Valley looks like, like Death Valley, if you've ever seen the original Star Wars movie where I believe R2-D2, the original Star Wars A New Hope, where R2-D2 is going through and the Jawas capture him, that's Death Valley.
So I'll spread it out with places that I found that are nice and inexpensive compared to the rest of California. Now, they're not going to be perfect. If it's a really cheap town in California, there's a reason for it. It's not the greatest town, but some of these are okay. Now, I'm sure there's a bunch more that we missed, and we would love to hear about it.
California is the third largest state in terms of size in the United States, and the second in the continental United States. Obviously, Alaska is number one, but Alaska is not on the continental United States.
Comment section below, so feel free to tell us about them. All right, in no particular order, let's find out where you can live in California without selling a kidney. Number 10, 29 Palms, California.
Yeah, this is already we're not along the West Coast here.
29 Palms was named after the palm trees found there in 1852 by Colonel Henry Washington. He decided to do a little surveying in the area and found some trees. A whole lot of dirt and rocks. The town of almost 26,000 residents sits just outside of Joshua Tree National Park. They also have the Marine Corps Air Group Combat Center at 29 Palms, or just 29 Palms. I've trained there with the Marines. I was in the Army. The Marines, we trained together sometimes. I swore I'd never go back there, and so far I'm holding up that promise to myself. The place is horrible to train. The cost of living in 29 Palms is 33% lower than California's average. That's pretty good. That's a low number. And it's 7% lower than the national average. 29 Palms housing is 25% lower than the national average. You can get a house here for as low as $150,000.
As you can tell looking at it, you're not surrounded by the ocean. There's palm trees everywhere, and there's not bikini-clad women walking up and down the street.
You probably won't want that house, but it's there for you. If you want to get a better house, probably the nicer ones start off around $250 and go all the way up to $350 maybe. Most of them don't have lawns because this place is desert and dry, but you might be lucky if you have a bush or two.
And you're probably going to see that as being the norm. I'm just guessing you're going to see a lot of that in this list.
Number 9, Blythe, California. Blythe, California is what you get when you combine desert and retirees on a fixed income. The good news is it's cheap to live here. The city was incorporated on July 21st, 1916. The population was 20,000 at the 2010 census, and they think it's dropped a little bit. They're not really sure how much. We'll find out in a year or so when this census is over. Blythe is in the Colorado Desert, which is part of the Sonora Desert. Yes, it is in California, and it's called the Colorado Desert. The Colorado River flows just east of town, so it sort of makes sense. Blythe's housing is 30% lower than the national average, and the cost of living is 34% lower than California's average. And the cost of living is 8% lower than the national average.
And for people who've never been to California, excuse me, or who've never, from foreign lands who've never been to California, or people in the United States who've never been to California, most people think of California as, palm tree sunshine, the Pacific Coast Highway, and all that good stuff. This is, like I said, clearly California has a lot of desert on the eastern side, and that's where a lot of these places are. So even though they may be cheap and for California standards, they aren't exactly the California you normally see. It's a thing that Hollywood tends to share when you're talking about living in California, Southern California, or even Northern California for that matter.
In Blythe, you can get a home you don't want for under $150,000 and get one you probably do want for $225,000. They have a bunch of mobile homes here, and what's weird is they have a bunch of homes that aren't mobile homes, but they look like they are. It's like they design them that way. It's weird. Number 8, Chowchilla, California. Chowchilla is in between Merced and Fresno. Merced is okay, Fresno sucks. Chowchilla also has the Valley State Prison.
I've known people who lived in Fresno didn't think it was that bad, but yeah.
Real close, and I think people would rather mention that they live near a prison than near Fresno. Chowchilla isn't a terrible place. It gets hot and it has some crime. It's not as bad as the cost of living might make you think. Chowchilla's crime rate is actually 36% lower than California's average. The cost of living in Chowchilla is 30% lower than California's average and 2% lower.
But you live near a prison.
Than the national average. The real estate prices are about 63% lower here than the California average. Houses you don't want here are around $160,000, and the ones you do want are somewhere close to $300,000.
He's giving housing prices, you said $250,000 and below, and compared to San Francisco and Los Angeles and San Diego, that's incredibly cheap for California, where the prices you can get, basically houses like the cheapest house is like $500,000 or $600,000, maybe even some places are even $1 million.
A little bit over probably, but in general, this is a really good place to live if you can just get past that heat. Number 7, Gustine, California. Gustine is a little town between San Jose and Merced if you're looking at a map. Gustine has about 6,000 residents, and it's the type of place where you could drive up and down the Interstate 5 for years and not realize that this town's just a few miles off the interstate. I watched a video about how during the COVID-19 lockdown, like March and April, the police started delivering food and groceries for people because the town was so small they didn't have anything like Grubhub. That's great. They were just dropping people's stuff off, especially the elderly, so they wouldn't have to leave the house.
These are not bad places that he's showing you for California. Like I said, it's just not along the coast. I mean, if you're thinking of if you ever go to California, you want to see the coast, these are not the places you're going to visit.
During the lockdown. It's a nice small town, and I'm kind of shocked that it's so cheap to live here. It is kind of out of the way, so that plays into it, but still. The cost of living in Gustine is 31% lower than California's average and 3% lower than the national average. The housing in Gustine is 15% lower than the national average. Now, they have a bunch of trailers here, and they go for next to nothing, like $18,000 to $20,000 for one.
That would be amazing. If you don't, I mean, I've never, I don't know what the trailers look like. I haven't seen the trailers, but that if you could get away with that in California, that's California. You'd be living in California if that's what you want. You probably have, hot weather, and that is pretty cheap.
They also have a whole lot of vacant lots that are for sale for under $100,000.
And there you go. You can get an In-N-Out burger, which is probably one of the best burger places in the United States.
The nicer homes start off at about $290.
Yeah, but if you want a home, $290. See, around like the middle of the United States, like the Midwest, $290, $300,000. Now, consider what the housing market is right now, but you can live pretty nice in $290. $300,000 houses around the middle of the United States. California, like along the coast, that doesn't get you a whole lot. But there, like I said, you're still in California. You're just not along the coast.
277, I saw a couple like that, but they go all the way up to $425,000 for a really nice house here. Number 6, Firebaugh, California. Firebaugh got its name from a guy who ran a ferry that crossed the San Joaquin River back in the day. The thing is, that's not even how you spell his name. So many people misspelled his name, it kind of stuck. It's actually F-I-E-R-B-A-U-G-H, not F-I-R-E-B-A-U-G-H. So they mixed up 2 letters and it kind of stuck. This is a farming community for the most part. If you need any proof of that and the surrounding farmland didn't convince you, every year they have a Cantaloupe Roundup Festival. Yeah, Cantaloupe Roundup Festival. The cost of living in Firebaugh is 35% lower than California's average and 8% lower than the national average. Firebaugh's housing is actually 32% lower than the national average. Most all of the houses go for in between $200,000 and $250,000. Now they have a few that are higher, but all the ones that are for sale right now are right around that area, $200,000 to $250,000.
And again, that's good. That's decent for California. And so these are nice, cheap places to live in California.
Number 5, El Centro, California. Down near the Mexico border, east of San Diego, you have El Centro. If you like warm weather, El Centro has plenty of it for you. This is a farming city. It was a farming town, but now the metro area has over 160,000 residents, so it's a farming city. This city is right in the middle of miles and miles of farmland and desert. They actually have a great ATV area called Imperial Dunes, but actually I guess the real name is Algodones Dunes. But I've always called it Imperial Dunes. I don't know. That's what everyone I knew called it. Anyway, this place draws thousands of visitors every single year, mainly for off-road driving of anything. I've seen everything out there. I've actually also seen a few photo shoots with models and stuff like that. It's been pretty cool. It's a neat landscape. The cost of living in El Centro is 30% lower than California's average and 2% lower than the national average.
Again, these are nice. These are not bad places. I mean, that doesn't look too dissimilar. My dad grew up in Southern California back in the 50s, and he lived in North Hollywood. And in North Hollywood, that doesn't look too dissimilar from the house that he grew up in. But it's probably definitely was a lot cheaper in the 50s than it was it is now. A house like that probably goes for $800,000 or $900,000 in Southern California, but it goes for a lot cheaper in places like this. And like I said, we're east of San Diego, north of the Mexican border.
Average. The housing is 14% lower than the national average, and it's a great place to live for the most part. They do have some crime, but not terrible. I mean, if you watch the news, you think anything near the Mexico border is just going to be some kind of, war zone. No, it's not. Just like El Paso. They have some crime, but it's not crazy like you'd think it should be if you watch the news. You can get homes here in the 200,000 area, but those aren't really the ones you want. You want to be looking 250 to 350, and they go all the way up, but that's a nice spot.
Yeah, that's and close to San Diego. I've been to San Diego before. I've been to Los Angeles. I've been to San Francisco before. Very, very certainly accessible to get there from these places. And quite reasonable if you have the money to pay, just to do it. Like I said, if you go towards the coast, add about $500,000 or $600,000 to these prices that he's quoting.
$250,000 to $350,000 will get you a good home in El Centro. Number 4, Atwater, California. The railroad reached Atwater in the 1870s and the town grew from there. The first post office opened up in 1880 and Atwater was incorporated in 1922. They named the town after Marshall D. Atwater, a local wheat farmer whose land they used to actually put the railroad station in. Kind of a nice thing. You give up a little land, they name the town after you. This is a nice town. It's the other side of Merced from Fresno, so that's good, but it's closer to Modesto. That's a tough one. I'm not sure which one sucks worse, Fresno or Modesto. I'm gonna have to think about that one.
Like I said, I had a friend who lived in Fresno, didn't think it was that bad, but they don't live there anymore, and I guess it's gotten bad in recent years. I don't know. I've never been to Fresno, but again, these look like pretty good places to live. If you ever want to go to California, you don't have to live on the coast. Okay, it's pretty accessible to get to the coast from a lot of these places.
Anyway, the cost of living in Atwater is 30% lower than California's average and 2% lower than the national average. The housing is 11% lower than the national average, so this is a good place to live. They do have some crime. It's 59% higher than the national average, but that's nothing. I mean, take a look at Detroit. I think they're like 340% higher than the national average.
Yeah, you don't want to live in Detroit.
So 59% is not bad.
Outskirts of Detroit are probably not bad, but same with San Francisco. San Francisco is a garbage hole. But if you're in the outskirts, like in the suburbs of San Francisco, are very, very nice, but very, very expensive.
You can get a house here that's in decent, good shape, that's been well maintained for under $250,000.
That's fantastic.
$20,000 to $250,000. That'll get you a nice small house. You get up towards the 300 area and it starts getting a lot better. But yeah, you're looking between $250,000 and $350,000. That's a nice price for a town like this. Number 3, Rosamond, California. Rosamond is about an hour outside of Los Angeles, just north of Lancaster. The hour thing is technically correct, but unless you live on the outskirts of LA, you should know it takes about an hour to get out of LA most days.
Here's what you may not know about Los Angeles if you've never been there before. If you ever think that going down the highways in Los Angeles with your convertible, driving and the wind blowing your hair, that's just bull. Okay, California, 1 hour out. If it's an hour from Los Angeles, it's probably 2-hour drive because the freeways are so jam packed. Okay, they are just so condensed. And it is, I remember my cousin lives in Culver City. We were going to Randy's Donuts. Randy's Donuts is literally just like one exit stop from his condo. And it took us 45 minutes to get there. Okay. Put it in layman's terms, it took 45 minutes to go about less than a mile and a half. If you think that driving in Los Angeles is just, having the good old, it just isn't like that. And so when he says an hour outside, please. You'll know when you hit Southern California traffic in Los Angeles. How will you know it? You'll just be sitting on your ass with your hand, just waiting for the traffic to move. And maybe if you're lucky, you can try and zigzag through and maybe go a little bit faster. But no, Los Angeles traffic sucks.
The first local industries were mining and cattle. During the 1890s, gold was discovered, and like everywhere else, when people start pulling money out of the ground, more people show up, and a community was born. The gold dried up years later, but people stayed because of nearby Murdoch Field, which later was renamed to Edwards Air Force Base. If you don't mind desert life, this might be worth a look. The cost of
and that's a common denominator with all these. If you don't mind desert life, and you just got to live in California,
living in Rosamond is 24% lower than California's average, and it's about even with the national average. The housing is 11% lower than the national average, which
still, that doesn't look too bad, does it? You're not living on the ocean, but that doesn't look too bad.
Is good. In Rosamond, there's plenty of empty lots for around 10,000. They have a whole bunch of them. You could buy a plot of land and put whatever you want on them. They have some nice mobile home parks. They got some rundown ones too, but they have some nice ones where you can get a place for, around 50,000 or under 50,000. A house here starts around 220,000 and they go all the way up. I actually saw one for 700,000. It was nice, but in my opinion, it was far too expensive for Rosamond. Number 2, Alturas, California. Do you want to get away? Do you hate everyone you know? Are you tired of having friends? friends and family wanting to visit? If so, you should probably move to this little town in the northeastern corner of California. This is one of those towns that probably wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the train back in the day. I'm not even sure if the train goes through here anymore, but it used to. This is a beautiful little town that would probably be far more expensive if it wasn't so remote. This place it's kind of away from everything. The cost of living in Alturas is 34% lower than California's average, and it's about 8% lower than the national average. Alturas housing is actually 41% lower than the national average. Now, that's one thing if it's lower than California's, but it's lower than the national average by 41%. That's pretty good. You could buy a livable home for under $100,000.
Yeah, that and in California, if you're talking about the eastern is the key word. It may be the north, maybe the south, maybe the middle. You're going to be on the east, okay? But if you can find housing for under $100,000 in California, and you just got to live in California, that's not too bad.
It might need a little work, but they look nice. A really nice house starts at about $220,000, and they have nice lots of land for under $10,000. I did watch one guy's video, and
and look at those nice, wonderful people they're waving at you.
Said if you have AT&T cell service, plan on changing to Verizon if you move here because the cell service for AT&T there sucked. That's just what he said. I don't know that for sure.
But yeah, I mean, when you're like I said, that doesn't look too bad. Doesn't look too great either, but doesn't look too bad.
And number 1, Susanville, California. About 2 hours south of Alturas, near Eagle Lake, you have Susanville. Like Alturas, if you want to cut down on unannounced visitors, move here. Things move a little slow in Susanville. Here's a picture of downtown in 1975, and here it is again in 2005. I'm totally kidding, but anyway, the cost of living in Susanville is 30% lower than the California average and about 2% lower than the national average. Housing here is 15% lower than the national average. This is a great place to live. It's really nice. They have houses for sale on Eagle Lake or just a short walk off the lake from $50,000 to $150,000.
That's very good for California. We're talking really good. Right along a lake.
Nice house in town will run you about $150,000 to $220,000. This is a nice place to live. It's only about an hour and a half from Reno, Nevada, so it's a quiet.
I've been to Reno, the biggest little city in the world. You drive through the desert, you get there. It's kind of like, it's just like a smaller version of Vegas, but still in the middle of the desert.
Town, you got some entertainment in Reno, just an hour and a half away. Not bad.
And not like driving in Los Angeles. You'll make it to Reno in an hour and a half.
Alright, so that's today's list. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Don't forget to give the video a big thumbs up if you liked it. Tell me what you thought. Any of them I missed, I'd love to hear about them. If you haven't subscribed, I'm really trying to gain subscribers right now. Please, feel free to subscribe. Everybody have a great day. Be nice to each other.
Yeah, I enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Please click like, share, and subscribe for The World According to Briggs. But yeah, cheaper places to live in California. I was correct. I had not seen this video before. They're all along the eastern side of the United States, eastern side of California, and they're right in the desert for the most part. But still, some of those are actually pretty cheap and nice to live. And if you want to, if you got to live in California, but you don't have a whole lot of money, these are places you can look to move to, and live in. Pretty nice. It didn't look bad. Didn't look like what we're talking about. Horrible places to live. Well, in either event, if you've never been to California, have never ever wanted to visit California or just visit there, go along the West Coast, spend a lot of money, enjoy yourself. But if you ever want to live there, live in places like this. Like I said, California is kind of a narrow state. You could make it there to the coast if you just have to. Well, with the exception of maybe Los Angeles, probably take it longer than, but you'll find that out when you get there. But still, nice place to live. Please click like, share, and subscribe, and have a good rest of your day. Thanks for watching.